Good Friday morning, everybody. We made it to the end of another week, and we have football. We have now played one full, actual, meaningful NFL game, and we are about 48 hours away from the Seahawks getting their turn. So, before we get there, we got to set up one more weekly scheduled video, and I feel like we may have saved the best for last. Everybody's going to have their own take, but I feel like this one hits pretty hard. This one is pretty important. We need this one to go our way if we're going to have a successful season. We need positive returns on this one. So, first, before I get into what we're going to be doing on Fridays, I want to say that later today, probably after dinner, after 6 or so, maybe even around 7, I may do a Seahawks stream, and it may be a call-in. Not 100% sure yet, but it's on the table. One final Seahawks stream before the season starts with a call-in show possibly rolled in. So if you want to be a part of that, be there. I'll set up the schedule once I have confirmation that I'm going to do it, and we're going to have fun with it. So, you guys may remember last year we did this. We're doing the pass rush. And for those of you who were here last year, who were watching these videos last year, we did pass rush Fridays. And last year, the context was very different than it is this year, because this year, the pass rush is supposed to be a strength. It's supposed to be one of the best in the league. And if it's not, then the front office really messed up in building this team, and the team is going to struggle to have success because they have built their pass rush to be great at the expense of other areas that may have been better last year. So last year we called it the road to 150 because pass rush was clearly a weakness. And everybody knew that we did not have very good pass rushers last year, but I said that if we can find a way to 150 total QB pressures over a 16-game season, then maybe that'll be good enough. Then at least we will have improved from 2019, and that might be good enough. Well, as it turns out, we were not going to do that, despite facing a league record number of pass attempts until we traded for Carlos Dunlap. So, yeah, that was a pretty good harbinger of how sucky our defense was going to be before we brought in Carlos. But yeah, this year's different. I've decided to go a little more granular. We're going to go game by game for every relevant player. And yeah, last year we called it the road to 150. But this year we have an extra game, 17 games, and we have more soldiers. We still have a lot of the guys we had last year. And we brought in guys like, well, Daryl Taylor, I guess. We didn't bring him in, but he's new. A year older for Alton Robinson, a year older for LJ Collier, or a year older for Poona Ford. We brought in Kerry Hyder. Hopefully we're getting more than a few games from Rasheem Green. So you put it all together, and unlike last year when I was just hoping we would get to 150 and that would be enough to carry us, to tide us over, this year is more like we should get to 200, and it should be one of the driving forces of our team. So you can call this year the road to 200. And 200 QB pressures is a lot to ask for, but I feel like this team should be able to do it. We should be facing a lot of pass attempts again this year because our run defense is good. That's what happened last year. Teams didn't bother trying to run on us because we had a good run defense, and they needed to score a lot of points anyway because the offense was good for most of the season. So I expect this team to be able to get around 200 QB pressures. And again, we're going by QB pressures. Sacks come and go. Sacks tend to come in bursts. Sacks don't tell you the whole picture of what your pass rush is doing. Even things like QB hits don't tell you the full picture sometimes. A QB pressure that forces a bad throw that turns into an interception is better than a sack, right? So we're going to go by QB pressures. And if we can get to 200 this year, I think that leaves us in a pretty good place. Now, as for how we get to that 200, I have some projections here. And as the season goes on, we'll keep track of them. and compare them to the actual output and get an idea of whether or not my projections are correct. And if they are, then we should be right around 200 pressures when this is all said and done. Now, obviously, if the offense is just bad this year, if our offense can't score and teams don't have to pass the ball against us 50 plus times a game because we're not scoring, then that obviously changes things. That won't be the defense's fault. If the run defense falls off a cliff this year, although it absolutely shouldn't, then obviously we're not going to get there either because teams are not going to pass the ball enough against us. But I fully expect the offense to be good enough and the run defense to be elite enough to force this. So, going through the projections real quick just before the season starts, just so you can get an idea of where I am. Let's start with the defensive ends. Excuse me. You've got Dunlap. I said 30. It's very easy to imagine him getting more. My thing with Dunlap is he's getting older, and I am wary of that. We gave him a bunch of money. We had to, and it was a good contract. It was a good idea. I am wary of how old he is. I also don't know how many snaps he's going to play. We have a really good Leo behind him in Alton Robinson. We have other guys who can play Leo on this team. I don't know if Dunlap's going to get enough snaps to get massive pressure numbers. Now, if he does end up playing 75% or more of the snaps, then he could push 35, maybe even 40. But I feel like 30 is safe. I think a lot of people would go higher, but I'm going with 30 for now. Alton Robinson, I say 20. I think this guy is going places, and I think he's going to have a big improvement from last year. His playing time is going to go up, and his production should go up as well. Benson Mayowa, I have to believe we have a plan to use him. Somehow, some way, we're going to get him on the field, and he's going to rush the passer enough to get his 10 QB pressures this year. That's a lot less than last year, by the way, which makes sense. He'll play a lot less, but he'll find a way to 10. Kerry Hyder, obviously a 5-tech, not a premier pass rusher, but he did have a lot of success last year on the Niners pass rushing. I say 25, which is less than what he had last year. He'll obviously play less, but that can also work to his advantage. And Rasheem Green, I feel like he can get to 10 because he's the primary backup to Kerry Hyder because Aldon Smith's out of the picture, but at the same time, I don't know if Rasheem Green's that guy anymore. So from defensive ends alone, I was able to get it up to 95 QB pressures over a 17-game season. Defensive tackle, I decided to take a leap of faith with Poona Ford. I say 25, which would be a nice step up from last year, but not a cosmic one. It's reasonable to think that a player who has been advancing the way Poona has can get a little better in this regard. Al Woods, not here to rush the passer, not his game. I say 2 over the course of the season. LJ Collier, this is the shakiest limb I'm stepping out on, but he had about this many last year. So if he improves or if he gets a similar amount of snaps, which are both within the realm of possibility, I think 18 is reasonable. That's about 1 a game. That should not be considered that hard, especially if he gets to play in a deep rotation, which he is. Brian Monet, not really here to rush the passer. I say 2 QB pressures. And Kimdichie, we'll see how much he even plays. I'm going to give him 1, and that gets us to 48 total from the defensive tackles. Okay, linebacker next. Bobby Wagner, I say 6, which is what he got in 2018 and 2019. Last year he had to blitz more. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think he's going to blitz a normal amount, which should give him a normal amount of QB pressures, which is 6. Jordan Brooks, not totally his game to get after the quarterback, but with his speed and with how much he's going to be on the field, I feel like you got to unlock that a little bit. So I say 8. This is one area where I can easily see myself being way off. It could be like 3. It could just not be something he does. KJ Wright never really rushed the quarterback like that, but I feel like Brooks's speed needs to be an asset here. Darrell Taylor, and this one's really difficult because we know this guy's going to play some defensive end and linebacker. But the question is he going to see the field enough to rack up big pressure stats? I'm not sure. You could probably relocate some of these LJ Collier pressures over to Darrell Taylor, but I feel like Taylor's not going to rush the quarterback enough to rack up massive pressure numbers. I say 15. And that's not going to be a problem because he's not going to play a ton, but I'm going to say he gets 15. You got to remember on some of his snaps, he's going to be playing the run. He's going to be playing coverage. So it's going to be a little harder for those numbers to come by. Cody Barton, I say 2. It seems like he's going to get on the field in some capacity, and he was good on the blitz in the preseason, so you got to use him in that capacity somehow. It seems like that's a pretty decent part of his game right now. And Nick Ballore and John Radigan get nothing, so 31 QB pressures from the linebackers total. And now cornerback, this is a little just taking shots at the dartboard and seeing what sticks. The only thing I feel strongly about is Marquise Blair. You got to send him on some blitzes. You got to get him rushing the quarterback a few times. And I think if you do that, then he will amass about 6 QB pressures this season from the nickel. That's something we saw a little bit of in the preseason. It seemed to work okay. I think we're going to see it some more this year. Other than that, I gave DJ Reed 1 pressure, Trey Flowers a pressure, Sidney Jones a pressure. Oh, Witherspoon, you are the weakest link. We got to get rid of you. Goodbye. And, Trey Brown, nothing. Amadi, 1. Ryan Neal, 1. And John Reed, 0. Comes out to 11 total from the corners. I don't know. Seems pretty reasonable to me. Corner blitzing is tough to predict, especially with this team. But I think Blair's the only guy who's going to be doing it a lot. And finally, safeties. Pretty easy here. Jamal Adams going to blitz less this year, but will blitz a lot. I say 15, basically 1 a game, and Quandre Diggs nothing for a total of 15. And that gets us to the end of the list. As other players start giving us snaps on defense, like if we call up somebody like Tanner Muse, I will add them. But for now, that's what we got. And you add it all up, 200 on the nose. So it's not unthinkable to believe we can get to 200 QB pressures in 2021. I admit that Collier could easily have more like 2 and just not really get on the field. But at the same time, Taylor could get way more than 15. Kerry Hyder getting 25 might be bold, but Dunlap getting 30 is low, if anything. So, yeah, that's the lens through which we're going to view the pass rush this year. And obviously, it's not just about the season total. You want to maintain a consistently capable pass rush throughout the season. That's why we're going to go game by game. And we're going to hope that in each game we're able to get double digits pressures on the opposing quarterback. And if we can do that, then good things should happen for this defense. The corners, which everyone is worried about right now, won't look nearly as bad if we can get to the quarterback. It's the opposite of last year, right? Last year we were supposed to have amazing corners. Shaq, Dunbar, Flowers, Amadi, Blair. No, didn't help. This year, we cheaped out a little bit at corner, but we made up for it with the pass rush. Hopefully, the formula works a little better. But, yeah, call it the road to 200 if you want to, because that's the goal this year. No more just hoping you get enough to tide you over. No more just hoping you can gut out 9.5 to 10 QB pressures a game. No, this year we got to go after these quarterbacks. We gotta make this one of the strengths of our team, or else this offseason, not a good use of resources. And yeah, this is key. This is the key. If we don't have a good pass rush this year, you can kiss it goodbye. All right, I will see you guys later today. Might be a call-in stream tonight. Keep an eye out. Peace out. Go Hawks. See y'all later.